Make any adjustments that you need to ensure that the space at the back of the shoulders, the back of the hips, and the back of the head. Ensure that you can comfortably rest with no distraction, no worries that there's a part of the clothing bunched up under the lower back. Make sure that you don't feel cold. And you might feel comfortable to turn the palms up towards the ceiling, starting that idea of opening the space through the collarbones, through the shoulder, and kick-starting that flow of energy through the body. Take a moment here to scan the body from head to toe. And let's not rush this. Take your time to tune into any part of the body where you're perhaps aware of holding limitation. Perhaps you have pain. Anywhere in the body where stress manifests for you. Commonly, a sign of tension is clenching the jaw or feeling the tongue stuck to the roof of the mouth. So remind yourself to release the jaw, to relax the tongue in the well of the mouth, to soften the lips, to allow a little space between the lips, relaxing the muscles across the forehead, into the temples, and bringing your full awareness to the breath at the tip of the nose. Feel the breath as a long, steady stream. As you start to deepen the inhalation, balance by lengthening the exhalation. And notice if the breath feels tight anywhere. Send your awareness to any part of the body where you feel that constriction. Give yourself permission to unclench, to release, to let that tension go. So that you can feel that easy flow of the breath. Inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. Each full, deep inhalation, filling your body with positive energy. Each long, extended exhalation, releasing your body of tension. Breathe in the good stuff. And let the other stuff simply melt away. Focus on charging the body with positive energy. Releasing the body of any toxins, any negative energy. And perhaps directing the breath to any part of the body that may be asking for a little extra attention. Maintain this regular, steady pace with the breath. And once more, scan the body from head to toe. And perhaps notice the back of the body feels a little heavier, a little more released. The front of the body wider, softer. Again, if you encounter any part of the body where there's resistance, visualize sending the breath there. Every out-breath, an invitation to let go. Inhaling deeply. Exhaling fully. Becoming aware now of the breath channeling from the top of the head all the way down to the soles of the feet. Your energy expanding into the lungs and ribcage and widening to fill all the space that surrounds you. As you lay here, focus on the breath here. You may start to feel that positive energy in the palms of the hands. Let's amplify that flow of energy by curling the index finger in, placing the pad of the thumb on top of the index finger, almost as though we create an OK sign with each hand. Focus again on the breath. As you feel that energy build, you might notice the hands become warmer. Inhaling deeply, exhaling fully. Now take a deep breath in through the nose, a slightly noisier breath out through the mouth. A deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. A further deep breath in. This time that exhalation, an audible sigh. Allow your breath to find its way back to a natural, easy rhythm. Turn your attention back to this Yana Mudra and simply slide the index finger from under the thumb as you bring the middle finger to reach the tip of the thumb. Open that middle finger, then draw the ring finger in. Now touch the little finger to the thumb. Then open the palms fully. Gently wiggle the fingers. Rotate the wrists. And again, just let the hands rest down by your side. If you've chosen to bend the knees, take a moment to extend the legs along the mat. And we'll take a long stretch through the body. Pointing through fingers, pointing through toes, lengthening, opening out through the sides of the waist and the ribcage. On an out breath, draw the toes in towards the shins. Bring the thumbs together in an interlock. Then squeeze the upper body over to the right side. Breathing into that space at the side of the waist and the ribcage. Exhaling to squeeze a little more deeply into this side extension. Then inhale to return to center. Lengthen again to take a full body stretch. Exhaling to draw the toes towards the shins, drawing the thumbs together again. Feeling the ears between the upper arms as you squeeze the upper body to the left. Breathing into that space at the right of the waist and the ribcage. Breathing out to deepen that stretch. Then inhaling again to return to center. Taking a further full body stretch. Exhaling, guiding the right knee in towards the chest. Keeping the back of the hips nicely released and relaxed to the floor. Applying gentle pressure to the shin or to the back of the thigh. Directing that right knee out to the right shoulder. Just widening that space in the lower back. Then using the knee to draw an imaginary circle above the chest. Gently mobilizing into that hip joint. And again, releasing any tension in the lower back. As you return to center, slip the hands away from the knee and inhale to lengthen once more into that full body stretch. Exhale to hug the left knee in. Again, we'll take a moment to apply gentle pressure so we feel the lower back easing towards the floor. If pressing the hand to the shin causes undue tension in the knee, simply move the hands to an interlock behind the thigh. Then direct that left knee out to the left shoulder. As you return to center, once more those imaginary circles, that you can just mobilize that left hip and widen into that tight space across the back of the left hip. Return to center, then inhale again to fully lengthen into that long stretch. Now draw the toes in towards the shins, bring the fingertips in towards the palms, so you're permitting tension to build in the body. Exhale to draw the tummy button in, clenching the fingers, flexing the toes, squeezing the shoulders up towards the ears. Then as you inhale, point through fingers and toes, relax the shoulders, relax the belly. Then float the hands back down either side of the hips. Relax the thighs. Exhale to draw the tummy button in, controlling the lower back. Then slide both feet in so that we're rested with knees bent, the heels hip width apart, the insides of the feet parallel. You might notice that this creates a little extra lift in the shoulders of the lower back. So widen through the chest. Relax onto the flats of the shoulder blades, palms again turned up to the ceiling, exhaling to draw the tummy button in, pushing the lower back to the floor. Keep that left foot connected to the mat. As you inhale, lift and lengthen through the right. And for now, we'll gently mobilize that right ankle. So we're gently pointing and flexing, natural range of movement for the ankle joint. Pushing through the heel, drawing the hips equally weighted to the back of the floor. If you notice the lower back lifting, exhale to draw the tummy button in, then lower that right heel down until both thighs are level with one another. Now use the big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Then change direction. Take those circles the opposite way. Bring the foot back to flexion. Press through the heel, draw the back of the hips to the floor, engage the core. Then float that right heel down to rest the heel an inch from the mat. Inhale again to lift the arms overhead. This time bringing the palms together into an Anjali Mudra. The thumbs resting an inch from the floor as you press through the fingertips, extending the stretch to the side of the ribcage. As you push through that right heel, exhale to draw the tummy button in, then on an out breath, hug that right knee in towards the chest. Now bring that right ankle to rest on the outside of the left thigh. Take your arms wide so that you create a T shape with the arms coming from the shoulders, palms turned up to the ceiling. And again, rather than hanging on the edges of the shoulders, relax fully into the flats of the shoulder blades. Exhale, draw the tummy button in. And take that right knee over to the left side as you turn your gaze along the length of the right arm. So again, we're just exploring any parts of the body where we may be holding tension, where there may be restriction. And you might notice the right shoulder peels from the floor here. So take your time to breathe that shoulder back to the mat, to open a little more deeply into the side of the ribcage. Bring the left hand to rest on the outside of the right thigh. And if you wish, apply gentle pressure to start to deepen that stretch. If this causes you any discomfort in the lower back, simply remove that left hand and go back to allowing gravity to draw the knee closer to the mat. Every out breath, bringing that right shoulder to release and soften to the floor. On the next out breath, draw the tummy button in, remove the hand from the thigh. Keep that core engagement as you roll through center. Then unhook that right leg and bring the left leg up and over. We're going to go straight into the twist on the opposite side, so back to that T-shaped junction. This time bringing the right knee to the left side, turning the gaze along the length of the left arm, and reminding yourself to breathe that shoulder back to the floor. Focus on opening, expanding and widening into that space at the side of the rib cage. If you feel it benefits you, bring the right hand to the side of the left thigh. Again, it's a gentle pressure just to deepen the release through the side of the hip, maybe into the buttock. Maybe you feel that that causes a deeper release through the side of the pectoral muscle. Release that right hand away from the side of the thigh. Come back to that T-shaped position. Exhale, draw the tummy button in and roll again back towards center. Unhook that left leg. And let's make sure that the heels again are in line with the hips, insides of the feet parallel, little gap between the thighs. Sliding the hands back down either side of the hips, drawing the shoulder blades together for stability, resting here against the flats, the shoulder blades, exhaling to draw the tummy button in and push the lower back to the floor. Inhale to lift and lengthen through the left leg, pointing and flexing through the toe. So again, this is very much natural range of movement. Go nice and slow. So you can lengthen that tight muscle at the back of the calf into the ankle. Push a little more keenly through that left heel. Draw the hips back to the mat, almost as though you're ironing that little bend in the knee out. Keep the core engaged. Lower the thigh down. Let's feel both thighs level. Then use the big toe to draw 3 circles in towards the midline of the body. Then 3 circles the opposite way. Any creaks and groans here, just let them go. Bring the foot back to flexion, keep the core engaged, and float the heel down to rest an inch from the mat. Important we keep that little inch gap so that we're working a little more keenly into the thigh, into the hip flexor, pressing through the heel, keeping that length to the back of the hamstring. Inhale to lift the arms overhead. Again, we'll come into an Anjali Mudra, pressing through the fingertips, drawing the shoulders away from the ears and widening into the space at the side of the ribcage. On the exhale, draw that left knee in towards the chest. Then draw the right knee in. With hands either placed on shins or behind the thighs, let's take those knees into what feels like a figure of 8 above the hips. So as you gently rock from one hip to the other, you're just softening that tight space over the back of the sacrum. So releasing that tight fascia above the bottom into the lower back. Then returning to center. Replacing both feet on the mat, again hip width apart, turning the palms up towards the ceiling, drawing the shoulder blades together. Exhaling to draw the tummy button in, inhaling to push down into the soles of the feet, lifting the bottom from the floor. No big adventurous back bend here, just a nice gentle opening, a widening through the hip flexors, a release through the fronts of the thighs, every inhalation pressing the shins forward, every exhalation easing a little more deeply into the weight at the shoulders, through the soles of the feet. Then on the next out breath, gently rolling down vertebra by vertebra. Just Just finding a release through the spine. It's not unusual here to feel parts of the spine are almost joined together. Just let this release happen without judgment. Take your time to allow the lower back, the small of the back, to ease into the floor. And I'm going to suggest that we reposition the hands underneath the bottom. So palms are turned down. We're sliding the backs of the hands underneath the fleshy part of the bottom rather than the bony bit. Wide through the chest, exhaling to draw the tummy button in and starting the core engagement by pressing the lower back to the floor, then lifting the feet from the mat. Lift the heels so that we come to a 90-degree angle. And simply by the action of having the hands underneath the hips, we've done ourselves a little bit of a good start, in as much as the hips are now lifted and we're pressing the lower back to the floor. So we're securing the spine. We're not making those erector spinae muscles work too hard. Keep that left knee bent as you attempt to extend and lengthen through the right leg. So pushing the heel towards the ceiling, opening the sole of the foot up, drawing the hips back to the floor, inhaling to point the right toe, exhaling to flex. Keep that core engagement, bring a 90-degree angle to the right knee, and let's go perpendicular with the left. So pressing that left heel towards the ceiling, drawing the back of the hips to the floor, keeping the core engaged, inhaling to point, exhaling to flex. Come back to both knees at a 90-degree angle. Then push through the heels and let's attempt to bring both legs straight. So we're coming into a supine dandasana. So for 99% of the population, this feels quite challenging, principally because we tend to be more tight in the back of the legs. So when you have a look down, you might notice a bend in the knees. You might feel that your heels are a little lower than that 90-degree angle. You must modify to what helps support your lower back. The back is key here. Try to keep the heels hip width apart, pressing through the soles of the feet, widening through the chest. And if your legs start to feel like jelly beans, you're doing it wrong. On the next out breath, bend the knees, slide the hands from under the bottom and hug the knees in towards the chest. A gentle rock from one side to the other. Then return to center. Replace both feet on the mat. Then in your own time, roll to the side that feels most welcoming to you. If you have low blood pressure, choose the left and take a moment before you bring yourself back to a seated position. Lovely. So I'm going to mimic what we did lying on our backs. So we did what I called a supine dandasana position. We're going to do a seated dandasana now. So in much the same way as we were looking for that 90-degree angle, usually when the legs are up in the air, they're the ones that are kind of letting the side down because they're quite tight. So let's sort of imagine that we've turned it on its head. We'll let the legs relax along the mat, allowing a little gap behind the knees, particularly those of you who know you're tight in the hamstrings. Don't force the knees to the floor. And think more about that length, that lift out of the sit bones, shoulder blades drawn together, lining up the back of the head with the tailbone. And just as a sort of icing on the cake, I like to visualize that I'm lifting the kneecaps towards the hips so it contracts the thigh muscle. So it feels as though these muscles on top of the thigh are working quite hard to hold me upright. As you exhale, draw the tummy button in, and it just allows you a little more lift out of the sit bones, and it keeps the back nicely supported. Lift and lengthen out of the sit bones, then exhale, relax the shoulders away from the ears. Turn the palms up towards the ceiling, and as you notice the backs of the hands resting on the thighs, you might feel the thighs are pulsing. It's all good. Just try not to hold the breath. Keep sending the breath down through the length of the legs. Inhaling now to squeeze the shoulders up towards the ears. On the exhale, release and let the shoulders go. Inhale, squeeze the shoulders up. Exhale, release. Reposition the hands either side of the hips, turning the fingertips out, shoulder blades drawn together, walking the feet in, pressing into the soles of the feet, then lifting up. So this feels like a really nice release through the front of the thighs into the hip flexors. Make sure the heels are about hip width apart again, the insides of the feet parallel. Inhale to press the shins forward, lifting the thighs a little higher. Wide through the chest. Then as you exhale, release the sit bones back to the floor. Good work. Lift and lengthen back to center. This time I'm bringing the soles of the feet together into a Baddha Konasana. Aligning once more out of the sit bones. Then on and out breath. Leading with the sternum rather than pushing the chin forward. Coming to fold the upper body into that space between the thighs. So again, it kind of feels like a counter to the tension we've put into the thighs, into that holding the spine. Then as you exhale, draw the tummy button in and lift to come back towards center. Now extend both legs forward. So we're coming back into the Dandasana position. Again, I'll go side on because I think it's easier for you to see. We're going to bring the right knee in, placing the hands on the shin. And as you just gently draw the body towards the thigh, you can iron out that length through the back of the spine. Keep the left hand wrapped around that right shin. Then bring the right hand behind the hip. Inhale to lift up. And notice that the left toe remains pointing up towards the ceiling. So activate the back of that leg. Good. On an out breath, follow the rib cage. Try to avoid just turning the head over the shoulder. Let's really feel that opening, that widening through the chest. Then as you exhale, release the grip, release the tension. Bring the chest forward. Extend the right leg and bring the left leg in. So as soon as we bring it in, we kind of come back into this curled up position. So lift and lengthen, part the hand to the outside of the calf, left hand behind the hip, lift up out of the sit bones, follow the left side of the rib cage to just bring your gaze towards the back of the room. So in this twist, we're helping to flush out those toxins, we're releasing tension, and we're bringing a little bit of balance into the side of the both sides of the spine. We often hold ourselves imbalanced. Then bring the gaze forward once more. Extend both legs forward. And then I'm just going to get you to almost like switch the legs round so that they come underneath you and into a hero pose. So some of you in hero pose, particularly if there's any arguments going on with the knees, you'll find it's beneficial to place something like a cushion underneath the bottom to lift up away from the heels. If any of you have any tension underneath the front of the ankles, sometimes rolling up a blanket or a towel can just give you a little bit of release that you need here. I mention this in particular, gents tend to find that area very tight for them. From what we know, it's unlikely they've had experience of wearing heels, whereas we have. So we tend to be able to do the pointy toe thing. Gents find it a lot harder. Beautiful. So I'm going to turn my back to you, which is farcical really, because I'm going to demonstrate a posture to you that I can't do. But if I don't turn my back to you and show you, you won't know what on earth I'm talking about. So as you come into hero pose, we'll start by bringing the hands together behind the lower back. Just a gentle interlock for now, shoulder blades drawn together. And rather than keeping the upper back curved, let's gently realign, bringing the back of the head to line up with the tailbone, tucking the tailbone under, then slide the hands away from the lower back, So we're deepening the stretch into the triceps, across the pectoral muscles, a little bit into the biceps as well as we open away. Now, as you release, let's separate the hands and bring them into an Anjali Mudra. So for now, our Anjali Mudra is pointing down towards the floor. In a moment, I'm going to get you to turn the fingertips in towards the lower back. Then we're going to work through the mobility of the wrists that you have to bring that Anjali Mudra up to about the middle back, shoulder blades drawn together. Now, I really struggle with this posture. I find it very uncomfortable. So if you can do it, hats off to you. I'm going to say that I've got short arms. I don't know what my excuse is, but I just find it really hard. Then when you're ready, turn the fingertips back down towards the floor. As you separate the hands, extend them forward. So keep that nice length through the spine. Bring the palms together. This time we'll rest left forefinger over right, opening the hands towards the heart. Exhaling to draw the tummy button in. Curving through the spine and nodding the chin to the chest. Because I've been in hero for a long time, I know that it gets a little congested in the calves. So as you exhale, draw the tummy button in. As you inhale, press into the shins, turn the hands inside out, then lift the arms up overhead. Press through the palms, weight through the sit bones towards the floor, opening through the chest. Then on the next out breath, engage the core and float the hands back towards heart center. Separate the hands and we'll simply just lean forward into an all fours position. So because the action we've just done has been very linear, I'm just going to take a moment to get back into the hip space, into the inner thighs. So take the knees wide, draw the toes together, then lower down onto the forearms. So we're connecting the elbows under the shoulders all the way down to the palms of the hands. Then we'll gently draw the tips of the thumbs together. Then push the sit bones back. Feel the ears between the upper arms. Every out breath, pushing a little more deeply into this space. Just letting the weight of your thighs open, the hips open. Then press down into the forearms and guide your body weight forward. So simply just lift the legs up, position them so that we're resting on the thighs. We've got the elbows just a little bit wider than the chest. We've still got those tips of the thumbs together, shoulder blades drawn together, pressing the thighs into the mat, then inhaling to lift the chest forward. On an exhale, looking over the right shoulder. Inhale to bring the gaze forward. Exhale to look over the opposite shoulder. Then inhale again to look forward. On the out breath, simply lower down. I'm going to place one hand on top of the other. So the elbows roll out. They kind of make a nice, I don't know what I would say here, actually, like a nice structure for us to rest. The forehead on the backs of the hands. Then let the elbows, let the ankles, let the thighs fully release and relax. So this is a very restful posture called crocodile pose. And while we're in this posture, we're going to return the focus to the breath. So if we return to a deep yogic breath, inhaling to the belly, the chest and the collarbones, exhaling from the collarbones, the chest and the belly last. Notice that with every inhalation, it's almost as though you lift your upper body from the floor. Then with every exhalation, you allow the full weight of the body to release back and down. Inhaling to lift and lighten the body. Exhaling to release. One further full breath in. Then an exhale to release and let it all go. Now gently lift the head from the back of the hands. Reposition the hands so that the palms are effectively under the shoulders now. You'll want to draw the elbows in towards the rib cage. This will widen the space through the collarbones. Tip those thighs towards the mat again as you inhale to lift the chest. The intention is to keep the thighs and, if you can, the hips stuck to the floor. What tends to happen is the hips lift up, which creates more torque in the lower back. So draw the shoulder blades together, open the chest forward. Then as you exhale, push yourself all the way back into a nice lengthened child's pose. Pressing the palms to the mat, weighting the sit bones back to the heels, resting the ears between the upper arms. As you inhale, lift the fingertips from the mat, press the wrists to the floor, just changes the emphasis of where we feel the stretch. Then replace the palms to the mat and lift yourself back to a nice, steady, all fours position. So Denise, rather than being both knees at a 90-degree angle, just take the offending leg back and just keep it out of the way. It will be very difficult to do when we come to the one-sided stuff. So I'll be interested to hear how you've modified, and I'll be watching you to make sure you don't fall over. So wide through the collarbones, shoulder blades drawn together. Exhale to draw the tummy button in. Take the right foot back, turn the toe under, and you really want to feel that connection through the ball of the foot as you push through the heel. So this gets back into that space at the back of the calf that we did way at the beginning, but we've opened that space a little, we've prepared it so we can lengthen here. Now lift that foot from the mat. As you do so, there is a tendency to open the hips. So let's make sure that the hips are square to the mat, the shoulders are parallel, and then extend the left arm forward. Push through that right heel, push through the fingertips of the left hand, and that supporting arm, just keep the elbows soft so that you're not overloading the shoulder or the wrist. And we're allowing the core to just work a little bit like a gyroscope to keep our balance. When you're ready, replace that palm to the floor, bring the knee back in, then take the right foot back, left foot back, turn the toe under, push through the heel. Again, you'll want to feel the connection underneath the ball of the foot. That's what gives you that extra stretch through the calf. If you're pushing too far that you feel it to the back of the knee, then just slack it off a little. Then lift that left foot, hips again, parallel to the floor, shoulders square, extend the opposite arm forward, pushing through the heel, pushing through the fingertips. Then on and out breath, keeping the core engaged, releasing the hand and the knee to the floor. So I'll demonstrate for you the next little part of the sequence. The reason I'm saying I'll demonstrate it for you is because a lot of you are side on to me, and if you're turning to look over your shoulder, it kind of puts undue pressure and misaligns the hips. So the next action we're going to do is to bring the right heel in, bring the left hand over to take hold of the foot. My knee is quite dropped low, so the action is to bring the knee in line with the hip square, the shoulder square, and to keep the gaze forward, bringing that heel a little closer to the bottom. So just deepening the stretch into the lower back. So let's start off with that on the right leg. Denise, you might just manage one side and not the other. Beautiful. In fact, Jane, you might be the same depending on the angle of the knee. You'll be pleased I didn't tell you to lift the supporting arm. Now let go of that ankle and replace that foot to the floor, the knee to the floor. Then come up onto the opposite side. Beautiful. And generally we find that one side is a little more obliging than the other. You might notice that you have to yank it through. So I don't know if you can all see each other, but if I can be a little bit naughty here. Linda, if you can stay in the position that you're in, and everyone else come out of the position that you're in, and if you can see Linda in your screen, if you can change your screen to see Linda. In fact, what I'll do is I'll pin you instead of me. Right, so that's a beautiful modification that Linda's doing there. It does require that you have a yoga strap. So it might be that that's something that will help you, but it's a way of getting into the posture that isn't relying on you being on all fours. And also beautifully, there's much less of a back bend involved. Sorry, Linda, you'll be stuck in that position. So as Linda releases that ankle, we'll see how the action of what she's done. She's literally wrapped the strap around the front of the foot. She's not up on all fours, and it's made it really easy for her to just guide with the strap to draw it a little closer when she feels that's enough. Beautiful. I love it when people improvise. Thank you for that. And thank you for letting us all watch you. I'll remove your pin, bless you. I'll go back to gallery view. Perfect. Was that helpful to see a modification? So if you have a strap, you'll notice that rather than using the loop that we sometimes do when we're holding the leg above, the foot above the head, we've effectively used the full length of the strap to just wrap it around the ankle and draw it in. Lovely. So I won't keep you in all fours because that's a little bit unkind. So we'll extend the arms forward again, and we're going to push back into that lovely long cat stretch. Child's pose. Just be mindful when you're in this position, because you've come out of a gentle back bend, there will be a little bit of resistance in the lower back. So when it feels that the kind of resistance is just about to ebb off, tuck the tailbone under so you can just deepen the release in the lower back. Then we'll come back to all fours momentarily, bringing the knees hip width apart, turning the toes under. Exhale to draw the tummy button in and rolling through the spine. So we're again getting into that space in the lower back and releasing any tension here. As you return to an all fours position, an old Iyengar trick, you can either choose to use this modification or stick with what you know, is to move the hands a little further forward at the shoulders. It kind of starts that intention to create a diagonal. If we keep the hands under the shoulders, there's more intention that you'll kind of go straight up when we do a down dog. So by extending the arms forward, turning the toes under, you're less inclined to put all your weight on the wrists. Then lift the knees. And for now, we're not going to worry about getting the heels to the floor, principally because I can't. We're going to rest the ears between the upper arms. And then imagine that you're being drawn by the thighs or by the hips towards the back of the room. Place the left heel on the floor as you bend the right knee in, then switch over to the opposite side. Now, this is not a dynamic movement in as much as we're not bouncing through it. We're just gently releasing each alternate heel to the floor, but all the while we're keeping the hips and the shoulders in the same alignment. On an out breath, lowering the heels to the mat. On an in breath, lifting the tailbone. Again, visualizing that you're drawing your thighs to the back of the room, lengthening through the spine. Then on an out breath, bending the knees, sitting back on the heels, and coming into restorative child's pose, or improvising if this is not suitable for the knee. Allowing the forehead to rest, and rotating through the wrist. When you're ready, coming back up again into that all fours position. And we're just going to practice once more, going back up into that downward dog position. So if you wish to take the little extra trick of walking the hands forward, do so. It will help the wrists. Push the sit bones back. And the shape we want to make is an inverted V. So if we're making an inverted V, we don't want the shoulders forward, we don't want the bottom low. We want to press with the tailbone up towards the ceiling so that we make that nice pointy shape. And then every out breath, breathing the heels towards the floor. Remember, the aim of the game is not to get the heels to the mat. It's to create space through the spine and to just gently feel that we're opening the backs of the thighs, getting into that hamstring area. Then on the next exhale, bend the knees, sit back on the heels. And once more, release the wrists either side of the ankles, rotating through the wrists, easing off any tension. We'll bring the hands underneath the head, once more resting the forehead on the backs of the hands. And like we're rolling the forehead over the backs of the hands, bringing the right ear parallel to the floor, then bringing the left ear parallel to the floor. Bring the forehead back to center. Press into the palms to lift yourself up. But rather than coming up into all fours, we're simply going to slide the hands forward again, slide the thighs back. So we're back onto that lying on our belly position, lowering the chest to the floor. Then we'll bring the right heel in. We'll bring the left heel in. If anyone's been to grab a strap in the meantime, you might want to wrap it around the top of the feet. As you bring same hand to same ankle. So don't do opposites, or you'll end up in a nice big twist. So drawing the heels towards the bottom, avoiding, if we can, the heels pushing out here. Pressing the thighs into the mat and visualizing once more that the knees are in the same plane as the hips, as the shoulders. Pressing into the thighs, inhaling to lift the chest. Drawing the shoulder blades together, coming up into the upward facing bow posture. Then as you exhale, release, let the ankles come to the floor. Reposition the hands either side of the chest. I'm going to come up via all fours so that we can gently ease out that little back bend. Turning the toes under. Exhaling, rolling up into cat stretch, nodding the chin to the chest, tucking the tailbone down between the knees. Then resting on the tops of the feet, inhaling to lift the chest forward. Then exhaling, rolling up once more into that cat stretch. Relaxing back into a neutral spine position. Repeating that wide leg, bringing the knees wide, bringing the tips of the toes together that we did right at the beginning of this section, lowering the forearms to the floor, then pressing the sit bones back towards the heels. And if there's room, bringing the forehead to the floor. The forehead won't necessarily come all the way down. It's not really the be all and end all, but if you don't know what to do with the head, let it rest if it can reach. And just breathe into that space in the inner thigh, in and around the hips. And relax a little more deeply into the lower back. On the next exhale, draw the tummy button in. Bring yourself back up. And we'll find ourselves back again in this hero position. So Japanese pose, it's sometimes called. Straight line again from the back of the head, through the tailbone to the heels, shoulder blades drawn together. Beautiful. So we want to feel the connection from the shin bones now. So very much feel yourself grounding down, setting an intention to connect through the shins, allowing the upper body to feel light, inhaling to press into the shins, lifting the bottom from the heels. So for now, don't be in any rush to go any further. Find again that straight line. You might notice it through the front of the body. You might feel it through the back of the body. And we're going to keep an eye on what's going on here in the hip flexors and paying attention to not contracting the spine. So start by pressing the thighs forward. So the shins are still connected to the floor. We're about hip width apart with the knees, so go wider if you need to. As you're pressing the thighs forward, you're encouraging this nice opening into the hip flexors. What we want to avoid is becoming too comfortable in this that we crunch the lower back. So carry that intention of opening, lifting the sternum towards the ceiling. And just to make it easy, we'll bring the hands to an interlock behind the bottom, shoulder blades drawn together. And it's almost as though the weight of the arms is just opening you a little more deeply through the front, pressing the shins forward. Then as you exhale, engage the core, support the spine. Come back to the all fours position. Turn the toes under. Draw the tummy button in. And release that little back bend by curving up into the cat stretch once more. And when you're ready, we'll start by releasing into neutral spine. Then in your own time, making your way into a comfortable position for relaxation. So if you prefer to go on your back, you might wish to try on your side. Some people lie on the front. I can't imagine it's very comfortable for breathing, but whatever floats your boat. And remember, when we come to relaxation, one of the things we want to avoid is any reason for distraction. So if you might get distracted, if the feet are going to get cold, if it starts to become a little chillier in the room, then pull a fleece or a blanket on. Hazel, you've got a lovely shaft of light coming in over you there. You look as if you've been bathed in sunlight, soaking up that vitamin D. So extend the legs. If you feel more comfortable with the knees bent, then do what feels right to support the lower back. And once more, check in with those areas that you tend to hold tension. Unclench the jaw. And bring your awareness back to the breath. Slow the breath down and find your way back to that deep yogic breath. Inhaling deeply to the belly, the chest, and the collarbones. Exhaling fully from the collarbones, the chest, and the belly last. Finding that deep yogic breath. Rebalance. Notice again anywhere that the body may send back a message, tension, any restriction in the body. Send the breath to that part of the body that needs a little extra attention. And as you exhale, feel that tension release and let go. As you feel the energy in the breath, channeling through the full length of your body again. Become aware of expanding and widening into the space that surrounds you. Then softening and releasing the full weight of your shoulders, the back of your hips, towards the floor. So as this has been quite a stretchy session today, you might feel a little fatigued. You may perhaps notice the body feels a little tighter on one side than the other. Just notice these differences without judgment. And accept that that's why we practice yoga. To reconnect with the body. To find our balance. And to work out any tension in the muscles, in the joints. Tuning into the breath. And allowing any stress to release into the earth beneath us, to be transmuted, recycled into something beautiful. Now simply maintain your awareness on the breath. That regular, steady, natural flow of the breath. And grant yourself a rare few moments of quiet and calm. Simply rest here. Breathe here. Every out-breath, letting go. Become more aware now of breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Allowing the breath to become a little noisier, a little freer. Each exhalation a little more audible. Notice the way you're holding your body. And feel the weight of your full body. Submit a little more deeply into the earth beneath you. Know that you're fully supported here. While you allow the energy and the breath to revitalize, re-energize, to recharge your body so that you're ready to face your day and your week ahead. Start to make little adjustments now to returning sensation to the physical body. Perhaps wiggling fingers and toes. Maybe taking a long stretch through the body. If you prefer, hugging the knees to the chest. A little gentle rock from one side to the other, easing any tension in the lower back. Then in your own time, roll to one side. Blink the eyes open. Then returning to a comfortable seated position. Bring your hands once more to an Anjali Mudra. Touch to the head for kind thoughts, to the lips for kind words, and to the heart for kind intentions. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.